Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate, day number 488. 488. July the 11th, 2018. I believe it would be Wednesday. Wednesday, that's the day that I take out the trash and I have chicken. Every Wednesday, I take out the trash and I have chicken. Where do we begin? Oh, let's start right here. How about we begin with the Rotten Reverend? More stories today about this super PAC that the Rotten Reverend Clinton set up, and she's raising lots and lots of money. And where's a lot of that money going besides in her purse? It's going to Democratic candidates. Why is that? So that she'll have them in her pocket when she sets up her fake draft Hillary campaign in 2020. All these people she will own because she bankrolled their campaigns. Because in the mind of the Rotten Reverend Clinton, the reason she lost is because she only raised $1.2 billion. Not enough. Not enough. You need double that. So she's starting early. She's looking to raise about $2.4 billion, hoping that she couldn't buy it for 1.2. Maybe she can buy it for 2.4 bill. That's right, the Rotten Reverend Clinton. Now everybody realizes what I've been saying for the longest time. I was saying it the day after the 2016 election. She ain't done. She ain't going away. The only way we're getting rid of the Rotten Reverend is when she dies. And then she'll probably still keep running. She'll have a super PAC going at her funeral. They'll be raising money. Yeah, and I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. The Hillary Clinton cultist will be donating at her funeral for her big run 4 years later. They'll wheel her casket into the Oval Office, and she'll somehow run the country from her casket. Oh, I know you guys are laughing. You think there's no way, Mike, she's not going to run. That's just everybody's saying. No, she is. She believes that she's Winston Churchill. That's right. Now, you know, she may be running her campaign as a political prisoner from Gitmo, but she'll be running that damn campaign. Yes, she'll be right down there in Gitmo running that campaign as a political prisoner. Her campaign slogan, could be "Get me out, 2020, get me out 2020." The Rotten Reverend. Oh, she'll be there at Gitmo. And her bright orange government-issued Chairman Mao pantsuit, poop-stained, because she never figured out how to fix that broken colostomy bag. She'll probably have the Scooby van parked right outside. She'll probably have Dr. Frankenstein with his EpiPen ready to go. The whole shebang. We'll get it all again in 2020. What fun! What fun! I can't wait. The Rotten Reverend, campaigning from Gitmo. It should be very entertaining. Get me out, 2020. Oh my goodness. She has every intention of running, and she's setting it all up right now. Boy, she's going to get her ass kicked. Badly. Worse than the last time. She just thinks she didn't have enough money. Well, we only raised 1.2 bill. That's not going to work. So she's going to her donors now and saying, hey, you know, the reason why we lost is because you didn't come off of enough cash. I only had 1.2 billion. That was only double what Trump had. I need about 4 times what he had. I need 2.4 bill. You guys need to come off some more cash so I can buy off all these Democrats and races running across the country so I can remind them of how they got their money. And then, of course, they'll have to sign on to my fake grassroots draft Hillary campaign in 2020. That's exactly what's going on. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Now, let's move on to some serious news. It appears that Andrew Weissman, the lead pit bull of Uncle Bob the Executioner's Hillary donor posse, apparently briefed AP reporters after a grand jury was convened, which may have led to the Manafort search warrant. Manafort's attorneys will now ask the judge to put Weissman on the witness stand along with other FBI and DOJ employees. I understand they're also looking for a change of venue. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. these are supposed to be secret investigations, and grand juries are supposed to be secret. But it appears that Andrew Weissman briefed a bunch of AP reporters after the thing had been set up, and they're suggesting it may have led to the Manafort search warrant. All sorts of things going on back and forth. There were people who were at that event, and it wasn't really what you would expect. It was Andrew Weissman who set it up. And what you would normally have in a situation where you normally wouldn't have something like that going on after they had seated a grand jury. It would, it wouldn't happen. But it did happen in this case. But in a normal type of situation, you would have AP reporters, various reporters asking questions. But for those who were in attendance, they said that wasn't what this was. This was essentially Andrew Weissman essentially giving a briefing to the press, talking about lots of things he wasn't supposed to be talking about regarding the investigation. Yeah, that's a big problem. So we will see how the judge rules as far as on the request of Manafort's attorneys, because that is a big problem. And I would not be surprised at all to see the judge say, yeah, well, I think you got a good argument. And wouldn't that be wonderful to see Weissman and the Hillary donor posse all brought up and grilled by Manafort's attorneys for their unlawful activities after a grand jury has been seated. We'll keep following this story. This has got legs. You gotta love Trump. He's got a great sense of humor, man. And he's a great strategist, too. So he nominates Brett Kavanaugh, which was actually a very good pick. It's a very good pick. He is an originalist judge. But all those last 3 or 4 judges, any of them would have been very good. But he picked Kavanaugh. And I don't know why specifically he did it. He may have his own reasons. But it's just funny when you look into Kavanaugh, you realize that Kavanaugh was in charge of the Vince Foster investigation back in 1994. He also worked on the Clinton impeachment investigation. There was a reporter named Robert Costa who was for the Washington Post, and he says that Kavanaugh, he heard Kavanaugh call the rotten Reverend Clinton a bitch. And let's not forget that Kavanaugh also worked on the Lewinsky scandal. So what does that mean? He's got a lot of this information that's in his past that they're going to want to talk about when they want to interview him in the Senate is going to have to do with these major investigations that he was part of, involving the Clinton impeachment, the Vince Foster situation, and the Monica Lewinsky affair. Do you think Trump's sitting back thinking, okay, let's see the Democrats bring up those issues again just prior to an election? That's classic Trump. Absolute classic Trump. Because he's sitting back thinking, you know what? When we get into the Senate and he's got to be confirmed and all them Democrats, they want to bring up a lot of stuff, guess what we've got? They can start asking him all kind of questions about the Vince Foster investigation, the Clinton impeachment, and the also the Lewinsky affair. I really hope some Democrat looks at him and says, Judge Kavanaugh, it's been reported that you called Hillary Clinton a bitch. Is that true? It will be great, because you just know some Democrat's going to do it. Because 90% of the country, besides the Hillary Clinton clones, besides them, 90% of the country is going to laugh. They're going to roll off their chair laughing, going, he called Hillary a bitch. I love this guy. We gotta nominate this guy. Everybody will be laughing hard. Now let's go back down the road of history, way back, and let's focus on just 3 very funny questions that Kavanaugh had written for. He didn't actually ask Bill Clinton these questions because he wasn't in the one-on-one with Clinton at the grand jury. But he was the one who wrote these questions for the attorney in those hearings to ask these questions to Slick Willie. Now, because we are talking about Slick Willie, the accused rapist and pervert, and the nature of these questions is a little bit risque. So if you have any children in the room, please pause the video until they have departed the room. You don't want them to hear the questions that Bill Clinton was asked, that Mr. Kavanaugh wrote. You ready? Get the kiddies out of the room. I'll give you a count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here are 3 of the questions that were written by Kavanaugh for the prosecutor to ask Bill Clinton when he was in the court hearing under oath in his trial. Question number 1. If Monica Lewinsky says that you ejaculated into her mouth on 2 occasions in the Oval Office, would she be lying? Oh, man. That is rough. Let's try that again. Can you imagine you're Slick Willie and you're asked that question in front of a grand jury? If Monica Lewinsky says that you ejaculated into her mouth on 2 occasions in the Oval Office, which would make it now the Oral Office, would she be lying? Ooh, that's a tough question for Slick Willie. Of course, it's better than being asked if you raped Juanita Broderick, but it's still a tough question. Question number 2, written by Judge Kavanaugh. If Monica Lewinsky says that on several occasions you had her give you oral sex, then you made her stop and then ejaculated into the sink in the bathroom of the Oval Office, would she be lying? Oh, let's try that one more time. If Monica Lewinsky says that on several occasions you had her give you oral sex, then made her stop and then ejaculated into the sink in the bathroom of the Oval Office, would she be lying? That's a tough one. That's like on Jeopardy. That's like a daily double right there. That's a daily bing, 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 bing. Daily double. Daily double. Let's go to question number 3. If Monica Lewinsky says that you masturbated into a trash can in your secretary's office, would she be lying? Oh, my friends, you're getting into some pretty sick stuff now. You're getting into some pretty sick stuff. If Monica Lewinsky says that you masturbated into a trash can in your secretary's office, would she be lying? Oh, these hearings are going to be a lot of fun. You think the Democrats will go there? Do you think Diane turning your guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, is going to look over at Kavanaugh and go, now, Judge Kavanaugh, when you were on the team prosecuting the rotten Reverend's husband, the pervert Slick Willie, did you write a question about Monica Lewinsky suggesting that the former president ejaculated into a trash can? You think Mr. and Mrs. America, turn in your guns, Mr. and Mrs. America, Dianne Feinstein, is going to ask that question? I don't think so. Do you think that they'll bring up Vince Foster? I don't think so. Do you think that they'll bring up Monica Lewinsky at all? I don't think so. How about the other ones? Let's see, we got the Vince Foster, the Clinton impeachment. We have the Monica Lewinsky. It's a target-rich environment. Okay, so this is what's funny and why I think Trump has a great sense of humor, because he knows all this is in this past. These are key things that Kavanaugh did, in his career as a judge. You almost can't have the hearings and bring a lot of stuff up without stumbling into this territory, which Trump knows. What does this do? This brings back those memories that Democrats do not want to relive, I can assure you. Democrats, memories that the rotten Reverend Clinton definitely does not want to relive, nor does Slick Willie want to relive any of this. But that's all going to be on the table. It's all going to be on the table. Do they want to talk about Vince Foster? Monica Lewinsky, blowjobs in the White House, stained blue dresses, cigars in the old poontang? I don't think so. I don't think so. Trump's got a great sense of humor. Now, get a drink. Alrighty. Now, if we can move on from ejaculating into a trash can, which I've never heard of before, quite honestly. That's a first. Never heard of that one before. Didn't know people would even do something like that. Why would you do something like that? If it's that bad, get a freaking blow-up doll. But let's go to the next point of topic here. So, why is Rodenstein and no shit Sherlock Christopher Wray, director of the Federal Bureau of I'm With Her, why are they refusing to turn over the documents that will simply show what started, what was the cause, what was the probable cause, what activities, what things happened, what did they use to start these investigations? Now, they already lied and told us that they started the Operation Crossfire Hurricane because of the conversation between Downer and Papagalopoulos. We now know that that's bullshit. We know that it started from something else. But why won't they talk about any of these other things? The 3 other investigations, 3 other separate investigations that were going on. I wonder what started those. But why won't Rodenstein and no shit Sherlock Christopher Wray turn over the documents that will show the reason that they were able to launch these investigations? I mean, you got to have something. You got to have some probable cause. You got to have something. You can't just start launching investigations, especially on a presidential candidate in the midst of a heated presidential campaign. It doesn't look good. But why won't they turn over the documents? Here's why. They don't have them. There are none. There was no probable cause. There was no reason to launch these investigations, other than to stop Trump. And once they realized that Trump had a good chance of winning, then they had to go nearly insane, as we've learned in the last couple days, trying to create the evidence that they did not have for all the things that they did. And then once he won the presidency, they had to go even more hardcore, as we can see from the timeline. When you look at what happened the day after the election, you look at all the activities that were going on, it's pretty obvious what was happening. They were scared shitless because they knew they were caught. They knew they had been doing all these things and they had no evidence to do it. That's why they cannot produce the documents for Devin Nunes or anyone else. Goodlatte, Gowdy, any of them. They cannot produce the documents that would show why they launched these investigations, because they do not exist. Because there was no reason to launch these investigations. It was all done illegally. That's why a lot of people are going to jail, my friends. So they tell us that officially the investigation began in July 31st of 2016, Operation Crossfire. But we now know that there was 3 other investigations or operations running prior to that. So, let's just go down through some of the activities that were all occurring long before July of 2016, or prior to, all the way up, long before and prior to the day that they actually launched the July 31st, 2016 operation or investigation, whatever you want to call it, Operation Crossfire. Let's look at all the activities, not all, because I don't have time to go through all, but let's look at a lot of the activities, things that were happening, things that were going down, things that were being done, all these things happening before July 31st, 2016. This is why Nunes and Gowdy and Goodlatte and Grassley and a lot of journalists and a lot of people like me, like you, are saying, show us the evidence, show us the reason, show us the probable cause for launching however many investigations there were. Show us the reason that you were launching these investigations, because the only thing the FBI has said is, well, we launched this investigation July 31st, 2016. But we're going to go through just a series of activities that were going on long before that. And they have not produced a lick of evidence or documentation to explain why these events were happening, what investigations these activities were tied to, and who authorized these investigations. Let's go through this list, shall we? Summer of 2014, we have John Brennan claiming that he received a tip from Estonia that Trump, somebody, the Russians or Putin or somebody was donating a lot of money to the Trump campaign. That turned out to be a rumor. It was never proven to be true. But based on that, they attempted to get a FISA warrant. Was rejected. In the fall of 2015, British GCHQ passed on some intelligence to the CIA about Michael Flynn. That intelligence came from Stefan Halper. That was in the fall of 2015. Long before Trump had even won the nomination. Or even thought he could even win the nomination. Then we have September 25th of 2015. That's when Mr. Mifsud joined the London Law Center. And that was not an accident. That was part of the plan, part of the operation. All of these things were part of operations that were being run long before July 31st of 2016. Then we have, in late November of 2015, private contractors accessing the NSA database. 85% of the searches turned out to be illegal. We know that Confusion GPS was one of those contractors, but there were more. December 28th, 2015, Peter's been Strokinist text Lisa Page to ask about the progress on the approval of the foreign spies, the Oconus Lures. Remember that? That was in December 28th of 2015. So Peter's been Strokinus was involved as early as December 28th of 2015, trying to get the approval for foreign spies. Yet he wants us to believe that the investigation that we're supposed to be focused on is the one that started in July 31st of 2016, when on December 28th, 2015, Strzok was trying to get the approval of these foreign spies. Why? Why was Peter's been Strokinus trying to get approval of foreign spies back in December of 2015? February 2016, Papagalopoulos joins the London Law Center. Again, no accident. Part of the operation. March 6th, 2016, Papagalopoulos joins the Trump team. Look at that. Literally a month later. So they get Papagalopoulos into the London Law Center, where they've already planted Mr. Mifsud. And then somehow they get Papagalopoulos on the Trump team. Then on March the 14th, just about a week later, Papagalopoulos meets with Mr. Mifsud in Italy. Then, 10 days later, March 24, 2016, Papagalopoulos meets again with Mifsud in London. Then, right after that happens, Paul Wood writes his article in the BBC revealing the CIA multi-agency task force, which did not make Mr. Potato Head very happy. Then, of course, in late March 2016, Mr. Potato Head, John Brennan, puts together the 6-agency task force. That was in late March of 2016. April the 12th of 2016, the Clinton campaign hires Confusion GPS via Mark Elias of the law firm Perkins & Coie. Then, Mike Rogers discovers the FISA abuse on April the 18th, 2016. Then on April 18th, 2 days later, 2016, Mr. Mifsud introduces Papagalopoulos to Ivan Timoviv. Then on April 19th, 2016, Mary Jacoby, the wife of Glenn Simpson, founder of Confusion GPS, one of the founders, and a woman who worked at the Rose Law Firm with the Right Reverend Clinton back in her hometown of Little Rock, Arkansas. She pays a visit to the White House. Then on April 26, 2016, Mr. Misfit tells Papadopoulos, allegedly, that the Russians have dirt on the Right Reverend Clinton. Now, Mr. Misfit's denying that, and he says now that he thinks he was set up too. May the 9th, 2016, Michael Caputo is approached by a spy, Mr. Greenberg, and we found out that Mr. Greenberg is a longtime FBI informant. He approached Michael Caputo again at the end of May, a second time, at which point Caputo sent him over to Roger Stone, and then Mr. Greenberg, the FBI agent, who's a Russian national, then hits up Stone for $2 million for dirt on Hillary, and he tells her to, he tells him to go pound sand, laughs at him. Then we have on May 10th of 2016, Papadopoulos meeting with Downer. Down the hatch Downer, good friend of the Right Reverend Clinton, went to school with Bill Clinton at where was that in England? I forget. But he went to school with Bill Clinton in England for a period when Bill Clinton was dodging the Vietnam War. Then we have May 15th of 2016, we have Nellie Orr being hired by Fusion GPS. Then we have late May of 2016, we have Mr. Halper, the fat man, inviting Carter Page to Cambridge. June 9th of 2016, we have the Trump Tower meeting. June the 15th, 2016, Confusion GPS hires Christopher Steele. June the 20th, 2016, Christopher Steele releases the first memo of the dossier. June the 27th, 2016, is the Clinton-Lynch tarmac meeting. July 5th of 2016, Christopher Steele meets with the FBI in Rome, Italy. Also on July the 5th, 2016, the FISA court rejects a second surveillance request on Trump officials. So you can see these FISA requests, the first one back in the spring, here you have another one in July, the first two shot down. Then you get to July 10th of 2016, just about 2 years ago, Seth Rich is murdered. Then we get to July 11th, 2016, Stefan Halper, the fat man, meets with Carter Page at Cambridge. July the 24th, 2016, Robbie Mook, the Right Reverend Clinton's campaign manager, goes on TV and claims that Russia hacked the DNC to help Trump. And then, of course, 6 days later, they launch this counterintelligence operation. But clearly, we know that there were 3 other operations going on, and as I just went through, this is just some of the things, my friends. This is not all of it. But as you can see, all these spying activities, all these setups, all these frame-ups, all these attempts to get surveillance, all these things going on with Mr. Halper dropping the dime on Flynn, on Carter Page, feeding intel. You got intel going back and forth between the GCHQ, the CIA. All these things are all going on long before July 31st of 2016. A whole lot of activity, a whole lot of spying activity, the type of activity that's done by intelligence agencies. The only thing that happened on July 31st of 2016 is that they had gotten to the point where they put together all this, amassed all this manufactured fake evidence, and all they did was move it into the FBI because the CIA could not conduct domestic investigations. They don't do investigations. The CIA, they're an intelligence agency, not an investigative agency, and they can't operate inside the U.S. So the CIA obviously spent from somewhere in the late fall of 2015 up until the middle of the summer of 2016 using their spies, using their informants, their agent provocateurs, all the things that they were doing, all these setups. This was all done. It was all done to create and manufacture the fake evidence that they were going to use to hand off to Peter Strokas, who was part of the 6-agency task force, and then they launched it to try to cut Trump's legs out from under him. But once they realized, especially after he won the election, that it didn't work, Then the operation had to shift to a cover your ass operation. Now it became an operation of, uh-oh, everything that we tried failed. And now he's president. We're caught. We better manufacture some evidence. We better manufacture some probable cause somehow or some way, or get Trump impeached, or do something, or we're in a lot of trouble. And that's where they find themselves right now. So as we can see, they have a lot of things, a lot of activities, spy-related activities, intelligence-related activities that were going on long before July 31st of 2016, and they cannot produce a single document to justify any of it. Now you see why they're panicking? Now you see why they're panicking. This is exactly what Nunes is talking about. This is what he's talking about. And he believes that the FISA warrant was fraudulent. And he's right, it was. We now know, because now we're getting two different reasons why that happened. Actually, it's three, because before the Papadopoulos story, we were told it was the dossier. Then, when the dossier became discredited, they had to flip to Downer Papadopoulos meeting. Now, we learn from these texts, as was pointed out by John Solomon, it looks like actually that warrant was granted or sought based on a news story that they planted. Then Carter Page responded to it. Then based on that, they began a probe of him, which led to their investigation, which led to them going to get that first Title I FISA warrant, which Rodenstein signed off on. And now Rodenstein says, oh, well, after further review, this FISA application that I reviewed, I don't think it's the same FISA application I signed off on. You see the problems here, folks? They're obviously manufacturing fake false FISA applications. They cannot produce the evidence to prove any of these operations that I just went through, all these activities, intelligence-related activities. They cannot produce a single bit of probable cause for why they were doing any of that. None of it. None of it. It's just a matter of time. So that's why they're not producing the evidence. That's why they're not producing or wanting to talk about these other operations, because they cannot justify them. That's why they don't want to produce and turn over the documents to Nunes or anyone else, because they do not exist. Unless they're creating them now. They never had probable cause to launch any of this stuff, let alone spies in the campaign, agent provocateurs, set up meetings at Trump Tower, snitches like Mr. Halper, the fat man, dropping false evidence. The story about the Estonian tip turned out to be bullshit. The tip from Halper about Michael Flynn turned out to be bullshit. The tips from Stefan Halper about Carter Page and his speech in Moscow and him being a foreign agent turned out to be bullshit. They've never proven a single thing about Manafort having anything to do with Russian collusion or fixing the investigation. Everything that Manafort's dealing with now has to do with his dealings with the Ukrainians and bank fraud and stuff like that. They haven't produced any evidence of Russia collusion or anything else, because it's all bullshit. The whole thing, the entire thing, my friends, was all bullshit. They have no evidence. That's why they can't produce it. They don't have it. That's a problem. Because of all the activities. That's just the stuff that happened before July 31st, 2016. Now, if I were to sit here and go through the list of things that occurred from July 31st, 2016 until November 8th, when we had the vote, I could show you another 4 or 5 months with a massive increase in activities. All the same types of activities, but massive increases in the velocity of all these things going on. And then it gets even worse and worse and worse. They never had probable cause to launch any of these investigations. They did it all illegally. And now, after the fact, they're trying to manufacture the evidence that they used. They're trying to manufacture the evidence because it was never there. They did every bit of this stuff illegally, without any probable cause. That's why Rodenstein and no shit Sherlock Christopher Wray could not produce the documents or the evidence for the justification for these investigations, operations, whatever you want to call them. That's why they got their tit in a ringer. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.